Purdue pushes ahead its first road trip of the season as it travels to Virginia Tech on Saturday after falling in its opener to Fresno State. I'm Kyle Charters. Tom Dienhart here as well for Gold and Black Radio. Tom coming up next, but first this.
Designing and building since 1968, T&W has changed the way people think about construction. T&W's three-stage approach to designing and building is unmatched throughout the construction industry. Learn more about T&W's people, passion, and projects at twdesignbuild.com.
Experience unparalleled comfort, service, and cuisine at the Whitaker Inn. This Midwestern oasis is perfect for a relaxing staycation or weekend getaway.
Escape from the ordinary at the Whitaker Inn.
All right, Tom, the Boilermakers fall in the opener to Fresno 39-35. Purdue had the game there for the taking, especially early in the third quarter when it really had an opportunity to extend the lead, maybe put it a bit out of reach for the Bulldogs. But unfortunately for the Boilermakers, they left a little bit of an opening, and Fresno State was able to take advantage. Man, sometimes there's some nuance to loss. I'm not sure there was a whole lot of nuance here to the loss. Purdue just needs improvement in a couple of areas, it seems like. And, man, those deficiencies were glaring, it felt like, on Saturday. The offensive line and the secondary just need to be able to play better.
Yeah, I think we both agree, right? There was some bust in that secondary, Kyle. I think, Fresno State converted 3 third downs where it was over 3rd and 10 overall all day long. I mean, Fresno State had success on third downs. I think they were 7 of 11, just stayed on the field, kept converting, kept grinding, kept driving. And I think that was a huge difference in the game. And conversely, Purdue really struggled to convert its third down. So that was a big storyline. And again, you talked about the offensive line for Purdue. Those are struggles we've seen before, right? Especially in short yardage situations. Really exasperating when you get in the red zone or in the shadow of the goal line. Purdue just isn't very physical, and we saw it again on Saturday. Just not a lot of real attraction in the ground game. So you're right, Kyle. You got to try to button up that offensive line, improve in the secondary, and also get better on third downs offensively and defensively.
Yeah, those were the big keys. There's just no doubt about that. Look, the offensive line we know is being rebuilt. It also has some injuries, most notably to Gus Hartwig, who's going to be out for a while longer. Purdue was down to its third-string center. It got down to its fourth-string center. It looked for a moment like Purdue might have to go to its fifth-string center, but then went back to 3, which was probably a good thing. Not to make a bunch of excuses here for Purdue, but all those things do matter. And Purdue needs to, be better on its offensive front, but also get healthy too, which would certainly help.
Yeah, that interior of the Purdue offensive line is new. Like you said, this started with the center spot. Of course, Austin Johnson, the Colorado transfer, got the starting assignment after Hartwig and Josh Kaltenberger were both out. Kyle, I think there may be a chance we'll see Kaltenberger Saturday. And, of course, both guards were new. They're transfers. Jalen Grant, coming over from Bowling Green, and Preston Nichols from UNLV. So the first time those guys have all worked together in a game. So maybe there was part of that there that was missing, that nuance, that chemistry that offensive lines need. But you're right. And now's the time to get things figured out, to find out what your weaknesses are so you can obviously improve it as you wade deeper into the season here.
Purdue has its defensive system with Ryan Walters. It involves a lot of man defense. I don't have the exact breakdown to how much man Purdue was playing back there versus zone, any of that kind of thing. But it felt like there were times when Purdue was in man where it struggled to make some conversions. I don't see that Ryan Walters varies from what he wants to do. Purdue just has to be able to get those guys to improve in this system, it feels like, and play a little bit better in the back half.
Yeah, get some more pressure too. I thought the front did a good job. I think there were 2 sacks, Kyle. A handful of quarterback pressures, 4 TFLs, but I think a lot of that defensive success is predicated, like most defenses, right, on getting pressure on the quarterback and not asking your secondary guys to have to cover for extended stretches. So, and also credit Fresno State's quarterback. Mikey Keene did a good job. A smaller guy who was really nimble in the pocket, could extend plays avoid pressure. So that was a big part of it too. So yeah, but there's no doubt we all know Purdue's got to get things buttoned up on that defense. And like you said, they got to cover a little bit better on the back end, and also try to get more pressure and take advantage of some of that talent that they have at the outside linebacker spot too.
Yeah. One real bright spot I thought in the secondary was Dylan Thieneman. Now, we did not necessarily maybe expect the one high safety, and if we did, we didn't expect that one high safety to be quite so high. But it seems like it's part of the scheme for Walters and Kevin Kane. But he played well. I mean, that was quite an athletic interception, maybe one of the more athletic interceptions that we have seen here in recent memory out of a safety, to be able to go get that ball. I mean, he had to cover a lot of ground to get there, and then have the wherewithal to get that right foot in, which I managed to see, by the way, from Section 108 live. I'm not sure why we needed the replay on that, nor do I know why we needed the replay on most of the calls that were made on Saturday. They all looked pretty obvious for the most part and should have been called right on the field, I think. But Thieneman was really good. I mean, that was a real bright spot, I thought, for Purdue. He looks like a player. He doesn't look like a freshman either. He played well.
Yeah, not to get off on a tangent on replays, but they missed the Devin Mockabee touchdown. He was clearly in there too. They ended up scoring a touchdown, so it didn't matter. But I digress. You're right about Dylan Thieneman. I was talking to somebody with the team the other day, and they thought he was probably the best player on defense for Purdue on Saturday. A true freshman. Led the team in tackles. I think he led everybody in tackles. Fresno State and Purdue. He had 10. Had that athletic interception you talk about. And yeah, Kyle, he lines up 15, 20 yards off the ball. And that's just Ryan Walters' scheme, I'm told. They like that position to be able to really have a good view of the field, to see everything, and to be able to take good angles on things. So it just looks really funny and really unique. I guess we're just not used to it, to see a player in a traditional, course of a game play that deep in the secondary.
Yeah, it was unusual to say the least, but at least he was able to go get there and make plays, which was a positive. I thought there were other positives from the game. I thought that, a lot of it's funny, Tom, I felt like for as much as we didn't know about Purdue, not to toot our own horn here, but we were right about a lot of things, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we thought that Purdue might struggle a little bit on its offensive line. We didn't really know about the secondary and how it would adapt. We thought Dylan Thieneman would maybe have a good debut, though perhaps not as good as what it turned out to be. But some of those other things, I thought Hudson Card played pretty well. Maybe there were a couple of throws out there. Perhaps if he's given just a second more time there on that last drive, he's able to connect with Deion Burks on the post. Burks had a good game, a breakout type of game. Maybe he was a little bit better even than what we had anticipated. Tyrone Tracy seemed to fit in well in his role, especially obviously on special teams. Purdue missed, I think, Garrett Miller. His absence was, I think, troublesome, especially maybe on some of those third downs, perhaps a little bit in the red zone as well. So, there were some positives out there. Let's talk a little bit of Hudson Card. I thought that he played, for the most part, in his debut pretty well, put the ball where it needed to go, and gave his guys some opportunities to make plays.
Yeah, I think he checked most boxes for us, right? I mean, he showed a good arm, and the one touchdown pass, I think the second one to Deion Burks in the north end zone, was a nice throw. And you know what? We saw that athletic ability too. Everybody had been talking about the ability to avoid pressure and just improvise and take off and run if need be. So, yeah, I think he is what we thought he was going to be. And like you said, Kyle, in hindsight, what we saw was kind of what we thought we were going to see.
Yeah,
you're right about missing Garrett Miller. They also missed Paul Paferi. They were down to the third tight end, the redshirt freshman Max Clare. They finally got Devin Mockabee sort of amped up in the second half. He finished with 60 yards rushing. I know he had the early fumble. But yeah, special teams too, right? I thought those performed pretty well, aside from the missed field goal. Touchdown run back by Tyrone Tracy, about a 25-yard punt return by TJ Sheffield set up another Purdue touchdown. So I thought special teams sort of acquitted itself pretty well on Saturday as well.
Yeah. Deion Burks was a number one receiver. Good to see. Purdue needs a number one receiver, and they need a guy with a little bit of speed out there, and he was both of those things.
Yeah, fast, strong, quick. Looks like he's got some confidence. Showed that strength when he broke about 3 or 4 tackles on that 84-yard touchdown. Just sort of set off the scoring on Saturday. We saw everything sort of encapsulated right there. The strength, the explosiveness, and the speed. He ran away from everybody at the end. So, yeah, that's Deion Burks right there. He looks like he's that alpha guy. Who's going to be the number 2 receiver? Is it going to be Sheffield? Is it going to be Yassine? So there's still a lot of questions to be answered here, but I think Purdue's got to like some of its weapons on offense.
Let's take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll push ahead, look a little bit toward Virginia Tech. Maybe talk some about how this coaching staff challenged here after week 1. How will it respond and try to get the Boilermakers to respond as well? That coming up next on Gold and Black Radio. On the far end of Main Street in downtown Lafayette, you'll find East End Grill, industrial and classic. The restaurant is built like a steakhouse, but handles like a bistro. East End Grill's menu includes creative starters, simple chopped salads, burgers, fresh fish, and steaks, and the signature shrimp and grits. The staff prepares every item from scratch and emphasizes simple meals that incorporate fresh, local, and seasonal ingredients. A warm and inviting dining room features a cozy bar that includes a great selection of craft beer, inspired cocktails, and a robust and expanding wine list. Whatever your entertainment needs are, a cocktail at the bar, dinner with family, or a special event in the private dining room, the energized and attentive staff is here for you. Eastern Grill in downtown Lafayette, welcome to our table. When it comes to land sales, it pays to have experts in your corner. Acre Pro Midwest Farm Group is your local farmland specialist. With decades of experience in Indiana agriculture, no one knows the market better. Whether you're doing a 1031 exchange or simply buying and selling farmland, your local Acre Pro agent will walk the land with you and ensure the deal is done right. Visit acrepro.com or call 765-775-6502 and talk to your local land expert today. Again, 765-775-6502.
At Purdue Federal Credit Union, it's about a relationship. A relationship that goes where you go, wherever you are in life. A relationship that's committed to free financial wellness resources, lower fees, and innovative digital banking solutions. Because we believe in people helping people. Let's build your financial future together. Purdue Federal Credit Union, your trusted financial partner for life. Federally insured by NCUA.
All right, Tom. Ryan Walters loses game 1 in his Purdue tenure. I guess really the first hiccup here for him as the head coach. A lot of things have gone well. Obviously, once the games come, there's the possibility that you lose. Purdue, of course, did lose in game 1. How do you see first of all, what did you think about, sort of Ryan Walters in post game, and how do you see this group moving forward then to try to get Purdue straightened out here in September?
Yeah, I thought he handled himself with a lot of aplomb in the post game. He always kind of maintains that same persona, calm under fire, doesn't seem to ever get too high or too low. Just a real presence about him, a real calmness, and still always a real sense of confidence. And again, that was even reflected, I thought, in the post game, which had to be very frustrating. Anytime you have to come in off the battlefield, so to speak, the heat of the moment, a tough loss, keep yourself composed and offer some insightful, perspective in the game. And I thought he did all of that. So, now's when you really earn your money, right? As a head coach, as a staff, is what type of improvement can you make? What adjustments are you going to make? Can you keep everybody dialed in and motivated? So again, game 1 to game 2, as you know, Kyle, a lot of times most people think that this is when you make your most improvement. And we'll see how Purdue looks Saturday. That's going to be a tough environment in Blacksburg Lane Stadium with that Sandman tradition that they play to get that place rocking. They're 1-0. They think they can beat Purdue. So it's going to be a heck of a test. Purdue certainly doesn't want to start 0-2, Kyle. The last time I think they lost their first 2 games was when they went 0-3 to start that 2018 season under Jeff Brom.
Yeah. What, if any, changes do you think that we will see from a personnel perspective? I don't know that you can make a lot, right? And I don't know that you should necessarily after one game either. But it seems like, much of what Purdue will try to do here is just work on the mistakes that they made, trying to get better.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, the secondary, pal, there's just not much depth back there. A cornerback, the backup cornerback, one guy's a junior college transfer. The other guy's a true freshman. So it's not like you can keep trying to pull guys off the bench. You just have to hope, you still get good play from that position, with your two transfers, Marquise Wilson and Markevius Brown. And the offensive line we've talked about, I think there's a chance maybe Josh Kaltenberger gets on the field. Purdue has its number two center this week. And you know what? As far as positives go, too, Purdue had no turnovers, right?
Yeah.
And they didn't have a whole lot of penalties. Fresno State had a lot of penalties that really hurt them. They were able to overcome them. So as far as discipline on the field football, again, not a lot of sloppiness, no turnovers, not a lot of real costly penalties. So, but yeah, like we talked about earlier, the need to still get better up front on offense to try to get more of a push in that ground game, and again to get things a little bit more buttoned up in the back end of that secondary, and also just improve on third down on both sides of the ball. I think those would be things that many of us will be watching for on Saturday.
Yeah, I think there's, Tom, always a tendency, and we do this, everybody does it, to focus on the negative when you lose, and certainly losing is not good. But they're a play or two away there, and then if they win that game, you focus on more of the things that did go well, and there were some, like you pointed out, the penalties, lack of turnovers, and some of the things we talked about earlier. The troublesome thing is that it feels to me like a Purdue team that's going to be in a lot of games, and including probably this weekend against Virginia Tech. I would anticipate this being a close game. It seems like Vegas thinks it will be as well. And when that happens, you got to be able to, make some defensive plays, punch the ball in when you're in the red zone. Some of those things really come to the forefront, to say the least. This should be a close game against Virginia Tech on Saturday. I don't know where I'm supposed to look for the exact line here, but I have seen anything from Virginia Tech -1 to Purdue -2.5. So it seems like a pick 'em almost here. A little bit surprising. That's a difficult place to play. I thought the Hokies probably would be a 5-point favorite or something, just because that's a difficult place to go in there and play. But it's not the usual Virginia Tech team that we sort of have spent the last 20 years watching either.
No, I mean, these aren't Frank Beamer's Hokies, Kyle. These aren't Michael Vick's Hokies and Corey Moore and all those guys they had that were so great, 22 years ago when they played for the national title against Florida State. They had that program rolling, of course. Bud Foster running the defense. Tech really, again, had it rolling, but they're struggling right now to really find their way again. Justin Fuentes followed Beamer. He got fired. This is the second year for Brent Pry, who was the defensive coordinator of Penn State. He had a losing record last year. So, yeah, they're sort of in transition here still. But like you said, Lane Stadium's a tough environment. It's going to be a new kickoff. It should be plenty hot. And you're right. I'm like you, Kyle. I thought maybe the Hokies would be at least maybe a 3 to a 5-point favorite, but you usually get 3 points just for your home field.
Yeah.
So let's just call it a toss-up, right? And it's big. And like you said, Purdue's got to find a way to win these close games because, like you said, they're probably going to be in a lot of close games, fourth quarter games. Can you make that key play to pull things out? That's going to be the key. I just flashed back to Saturday, Kyle, when they went forward on 4th and goal from the 1-yard line and Maccabee got stuffed. You score that touchdown, you win the game right there. And so, again, it's we always know there's not much difference in a lot of these teams. And Purdue's going to be in a lot of games like this. And can they have some guys step up and win games and make plays for them in crunch time?
Yeah. Yeah, that's the way I feel. I think Purdue's going to be in a lot of football games this year and going to have some opportunities in the fourth quarter, maybe even earlier than that. I mean, as we sort of alluded to, there were chances perhaps in the third quarter for Purdue really to maybe not put the game away, but make it really difficult on Fresno State there in the last, 20 minutes or so, and just couldn't quite get the accelerator pushed all the way to the ground. Will be an interesting week. We'll look for all your pregame reports at goldandblack.com. Thank you, Tom.
Take care, buddy.
That'll do it for our podcast for this week. Thanks to our sponsors. As always, if you do like the podcast, please rate us 5 stars on your favorite podcast app. Leave us a comment as well. All right, that'll do it for our show. For Tom Dienhart, I'm Kyle Charters. Thanks for listening. This is Golden Black Radio.